I just watched Game 1 of the second round playoffs matchup between the Golden State Warriors and New Orleans Pelicans, or at least tried to, because at this point the Warriors have really ruined the NBA. 1 year of witnessing this dominance was at least tolerable, but this repetitive storyline of the Warriors going on hot streaks during the second or third quarter of games is just getting old and stale. In Game 1, the game was tied at 39 points apiece 10 minutes into the second quarter. Fast forward only 10 minutes later, and the Warriors are up by over 20. But all great teams throughout history have the ability to do this, right? MJ's Bulls could go on a hot streak similar to Golden State's, right? Not in the way this era's Warriors can. They just effortlessly throw up jumpers and dunks as the annoying Warriors bandwagon fans scream their ears off, clearly not knowing a thing about basketball. While bandwagon fans have always had a bad reputation throughout pretty much every sport, I never really actually saw a problem with them. I understood it. People love watching great, well-played basketball, and the same can be said for any other sport. But the Warriors fans are completely oblivious, just sheer clueless about anything basketball related that doesn't have to do with Stephen Curry. It's just terrible listening to them cheer on what's ruining basketball. You have to give the Warriors some credit for drafting Curry, Thompson, Draymond Green, but when that big three was in Golden State, I had zero problem with them. They deserve their greatness. They earned it, just like every other great team that has been assembled before them. Kevin Durant changed all of this, and now 2 years after his decision to join the Warriors, the effect of him joining Golden State has been felt more than ever. We have never seen a sheer unbeatable team throughout NBA history. Jordan's Bulls were once down 2-0 to a Knicks team with one primary star in Patrick Ewing in the Eastern Conference Finals, and that Knicks team only really had one superstar, as I just said before. They even lost to the Orlando Magic in Jordan's prime, with Nick Anderson stealing the ball from his airness to close off a very close series. We don't get things like this anymore in this era of basketball. Kevin Durant stole the pleasure of great basketball away from us. In the 90s and most of the 2000s, teams with only one superstar that played the right way always got what they deserved: a high seed in the playoffs and usually a trip to the finals. Clyde Drexler did it in Portland, Charles Barkley did it in Phoenix, and Patrick Ewing did it in New York. This was the way it had always been for the NBA, and that's what made it such a great league. You had rivalries between Michael Jordan and Karl Malone and John Stockton, Michael Jordan and Clyde Drexler, as well as Hakeem Olajuwon, David Robinson, and Patrick Ewing. And while Jordan ended up superior and victorious in a vast majority of his rivalries, they were close and competitive. Both sides had a shot at winning, and usually Jordan wasn't the clear favorite to win. MJ could also never defeat the Detroit Pistons and their Jordan rules, and had to wait until that dynasty aged and fell apart before they could really make their mark on the league. Stephen Curry and the entire Warriors franchise never experienced this kind of hardship. It was just given to them. They became great right away after getting their main winning elements. Nowadays, rivalries are a thing of the past, and whenever we do see a rivalry spark between players and teams, at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter. In 2018, the biggest rivalries were between Donovan Mitchell and Ben Simmons, the Jazz versus the Thunder, and Lance Stevenson, I guess, versus LeBron James. If you really do think about it, there is a huge lack of rivalries throughout the NBA, and those that exist don't even matter due to the fact that Golden State will blow out anyone who is involved in any of these rivalries. That is why they can't be a part of any rivalries themselves. Cleveland and Golden State used to be huge rivals. We can't have privileges of witnessing this kind of history that makes the game of basketball so great anymore due to Kevin Durant and the Warriors' way of playing and winning. In the 90s, Anthony Davis would have been Jordan's biggest rivals with the team that he had, and would also make history whenever he faced up against any of the big-time centers of that era. The Pelicans and Jazz would probably be some of the best teams of the 90s. Personally, these are my two favorite teams to watch in the playoffs. This doesn't make me a bandwagon. I still suffer through 82 Knicks games each and every NBA season, but I really like the way these two teams play, and I find it enjoyable to watch. But they will never be rewarded for their greatness the way every other team similar to them in any other era was due to the Warriors. It's just straight up unfair. It's always going to be the Warriors and then everyone else. We have never really seen an unbeatable team. Even in the 60s, whatever team Wilt Chamberlain was on was a major threat to the dominant Boston Celtics. We've already discussed the 90s Bulls and their tough rise to stardom, and in the 80s, the Celtics and Lakers had each other to get through in order to win themselves a ring. A few years ago, we had the Heat and Spurs, then the Cavaliers and Warriors, but that's all gone due to Kevin Durant's decision. There's never been an unbeatable team like this before because there's not supposed to ever be an unbeatable team in the NBA. It's supposed to be impossible. And at the end of the day, an unbeatable team is simply unwatchable basketball for anyone other than Warriors bandwagons. Unfortunately, now the most exciting part of the playoffs will be the first rounds, where there was the most amount of competitive games, so many that you could even forget about the Warriors' greatness and dominance for a little while. Those matchups between the Jazz and Thunder and Pacers and Cavaliers were great, but as the rounds progress, we are once again recognized of Golden State's unfair greatness. But this shouldn't be the most exciting section of the playoffs. It should be the exact opposite. We should be waiting all season for the NBA Finals and Conference Finals, and dreading how long and boring the first few rounds are. All I can do now is hope that this offseason ruins Golden State, with Stephen Curry's ridiculously bad contract, the thing that started this whole mess of a team in the first place, coming to an end this offseason. But when the only thing you can do is resort to hope, you know things have really gotten out of hand. My name is Blue Crab Dude, and I can't wait to see Kevin Durant stand in front of the NBA world, proudly showing off another undeserving championship by the end of this season again.